He's known worldwide. He's been doing great things, and we are really happy for her acceptance to join us in today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, Anna Collard is currently SVP of Content Strategy and Evangelist for No-Be for Africa, where she drives security awareness across the African continent. She has been working in the cybersecurity field for 18 years as a No-Be for Africa Managing Director, and before that as Security Architect and Consultant, where she has assisted organizations build their cybersecurity defense across South Africa, Europe, and America. Ms. Collard founded security content publisher Popcorn Training. She is a South African company that promotes cybersecurity awareness by using innovative story-based techniques and gamifications to make complex content simple to understand and easy to remember. Popcorn Training was acquired by No-Be for Africa in 2018. Anna won the Women in Tech Innovations Throughout Africa in 2020 awards for Southern and Central Africa. She featured in the top 50 women in cybersecurity Africa 2020, as well as top 100 in cyber 2020 globally by Cyber Defense magazine. She was awarded the Isaka South African Prestigious President Award for 2020. Collard holds various security certifications such as CISSP, CISA, ISO, lead editor, CIPP, used to Visa, MasterCard, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome this wonderful lady, a great ambassador of cybersecurity, a great daughter of Africa, as our keynote speaker for today's event. Anna, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Iwe, and thank you, Felix, for inviting me and for having me. It's a great honor to be here. Apologies for that long introduction. Last year was a lot of awards and things that happened. So yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to try and share my screen quickly. It just says host disabled screen sharing. So I think, Felix, you need to enable the screen sharing for me. Yeah,
you can share now. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll go into present. And now maybe just a quick check. Maybe Felix, can you confirm that you can see my screen? It should be the internet safety.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, great. Well, thanks again for having me. Safer Internet Day, it's a big day. I've actually just come out of the South African Safer Internet Day that was hosted by the Film and Publication Board. And I must say, I'm actually really excited and pumped because there were so many amazing speakers and organizations that do great good all over the continent. Like Google, for example, they have just announced the organizations and NGOs that they support in Africa that will help us protect our children and make, you know, the internet a safer space for all of us. So what I'd like to cover today is really a little bit of maybe a review of last year and what the pandemic meant in terms of internet safety or cybersecurity. And yes, like if there are any questions, I think please feel free to put them in the Q&A box, or you're also welcome to reach out to me afterwards. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, so let's get started. I am going to jump over that because Chris has done such a nice intro for that. In the next, I think I have about 20 minutes. What I'm going to talk about is the current cybercrime situation, particularly something called human hacking or the social engineering problem. And then I'll also share some tips on what you can do right now to keep yourself as well as your family, your children or your parents if any of the kids are watching. So thank you for staying on with me. So when we think about a typical cyber criminal, like a lot of the people that don't work in IT have this idea that, it's these teenagers that are somewhere in a dark garage, or often the media also sort of portrays them as these guys in a hoodie and sort of dark lurking somewhere. And the reality is that they probably look more like that. Maybe not that good looking, but they are a businessman. So cybercrime has really become a business operation. They've been operating virtually long before we all were forced into it by the pandemic. They are global, they're organized, they work in teams, they offer 24/7 service levels, they're very collaborative. They even have call centers. I'm sharing a picture here of an example that was taken. This is, by the way, a real Indian sort of crime call center where people go to work every day, every morning, just like any other call center agency, I guess, in the world. But the difference is here is that they go to work every morning with the aim of scamming people. So I'm sure that you've come across those scam calls where they call pretending to be from Microsoft and trying to they sort of often target the elderlies, unfortunately, and trying to trick them to let them access their computers because they need to upgrade or there's a license issue. And then in the process of doing that, they're stealing the people's credit card details, or worse, get onto the machines, or get them to transfer money into the criminals' accounts. So it's no longer just a few teenagers, it's a full-on business operation. And what are they after? Well, like any business, the money, right? So what makes us money or what makes them money? And this is also something a lot of, even, if I think about my family or my friends, they often say, but Anna, so what if somebody hacks my social media account or my email account? Well, it is a big what, because there's a lot of money behind stealing user accounts. Even if we don't quite grasp it at the first event, we may think, well, they can't do any damage. The problem is, as soon as they access our email account or social media account, that allows them to impersonate like ourselves, so they can pretend that they are us, and then send more scams to all our friends and contacts who will believe because it will come from us, and they're more likely to open up the messages. Or they can also, if we consider, our email accounts are often used to reset passwords on other accounts. So they sit there and then sort of try and reset our financial services accounts by just sitting in our email accounts. And then this is something called business email compromise that's quite prevalent in sort of the corporate world, where they hack somebody's email account, they sit there for a month, and then they just sort of intercept anything that comes in or out that has the words invoice or payment. And then what they do is they change the banking details on those emails, so that when the company or the person thinks they're paying the supplier or they're paying the legitimate person, they're actually paying the criminal. Also, what makes the money is our identity, mainly to do identity theft, and then sort of, for example, open up accounts in our name. And then another way that they monetize cybercrime is through something called ransomware, which is malicious software that is used to basically take our information hostage and only release it after we pay ransom. And what's quite nasty as well is recently they started threatening to, for example, release our information or the company's information to the media unless we pay up.
Okay, Isuna?
There's someone, I think I can hear somebody. So if you're not
please
a
mute your
panelist,
mic.
don't mind muting, please. Thank you. So what is quite interesting is if you look at, like on the dark web, there are various, a little bit like you have to imagine like a eBay or sort of those shopping sites that we see in the clear web. Those same sites appear or are available in the dark web, only that they sell they're used for nefarious purposes, and they sell stolen goods, including our information. And you can see here our social media accounts go for about $10 a record. Our emails also about $10. Funny enough, our Twitter accounts are worth the most. Obviously, online shopping accounts, if they are confirmed, and as well as personal finance, like bank account details, they take the most. So if I can get somebody's PayPal account and then reuse that to actually buy or purchase goods, that obviously is worth quite a lot. So you can imagine just getting access to your account itself is, it is, even if I don't hack into your account yourself, I can sell it on the dark web and make money like that. The other thing that was interesting last year is before, sort of when COVID or Corona came out, some of these ransomware groups, quite famous ones like Maze or Doppelmayr, they came out with a press release where they said, we will try to avoid hospitals and nursing homes, and if they are infected, we will decrypt them for free. So we don't sort of target the healthcare industry during this pandemic. But those are thieves. Can you trust a thief? Unfortunately, not really, because if we look at the sectors that were most affected last year by cybercrime, really the medical and health industry is right high up, and that is obviously terrible if you think about that. The hospitals and the medical field is already under so much strain and tax because of the COVID cases. And then also charity and voluntary work has been targeted a lot. Here's just a few examples of hospital groups that were hit by ransomware attacks, and then they literally couldn't operate. Or if you consider that so many hospitals are now relying on digitization and IT, if you think about, the doctor has to get a report to make recommendations. Most of that nowadays is like they use the iPads or their phones or some form of tech equipment, so that having the IT infrastructure down is a massive, massive impact on hospitals. There was a case in Germany where the hospital had to actually tell the patients that they can't take them in, and unfortunately because of that, one of the patients died. So in that case, this was the first sort of formal or official case where homicide resulted because of cybercrime. And anyway, there are a lot of examples of hospital chains that were hit during the pandemic by ransomware. So, okay, this is all doom and gloom. What can we do? I think the first thing to remember is that bad guys are inherently lazy. That's why they're criminals, right? So they know it's easier to hack a human than trying to hack through technology or sophisticated security tools. And that is also why, you'll see that a lot of the cybercrime incidents will very often have, or in the majority of the cases, it will have a human factor, a phishing email, for example, that was the cause for it to happen in the first place. And why is that? Well, if you think about it, our operating systems haven't been upgraded. Like we are sort of slightly more evolved than the animals, but we still are very much, we react to our emotions like fear, greed, desire, and the criminals use that. And this is the technique called social engineering, which is, it's really just something which is not just being used in the cybercrime world. You will also find that even ourselves will use it if we want something. We'll try and social engineer the person either through flattery or like other influencing or persuasion techniques. And if we have to define it, then social engineering is really any act that influences a person to take an action that may or may not be in their best interest. And in the cyber space, that will look like using the same psychological tricks and manipulation to get the victim or the target to either participate in a scam, to click on a link, to open an attachment, to get sort of over the phone, you get that as well, to share your PIN or other information that you wouldn't in normal scenarios share. So, and why does that work so well? And it's quite interesting if you look at us as like the target, or the human as the target, and how we operate. So our brains, if we look at it, there have been obviously massive developments in terms of consciousness, and we have this more modern brain called the frontal lobes that is here in the front, and that's where all our rational thinking, our reasoning, decision making takes place. And usually if you think in that frame, then most likely you will not fall for a phishing attack or social engineering attack. However, we also have two sort of walnut size areas in the back of our brain, or the reptilian brain, our older brain, called the amygdala. And this is really our fear center, and it gets activated when we feel any sort of emotion like fear or anxiety, authority. So what happens is when the amygdala gets triggered, it activates our stress or the fight or flight response, and it totally hijacks or circumvents our frontal lobe. So we literally become reptilians, we act instinctively, and we don't think critically. And that is really all that the criminals are trying to do with social engineering. Is they're trying to hijack our amygdala by sending us something that either makes us curious, that makes us slightly scared or fearful. They may use authority, where we say, oh, the CEO or the, you know, like some important person is emailing me, I need to react immediately. And what happens is that if we follow through on our emotions, we don't think critically, and that's the end of us. So I guess like the number one thing out of this whole talk, if you only remember one thing, is to, whatever comes at you, take a breather. It only takes 5 to 10 seconds to calm down the amygdala, and then think with your frontal lobe before you react. So the typical methods that social engineers are using, obviously phishing, most of you have heard about that. That is sort of scams that are being sent through email, but also over the phone, sometimes very often in combination. They may send you a phishing email and then follow up over the phone. Smishing, that is sort of via WhatsApp or SMS or other chat applications. Also, social engineering can sometimes happen in person, where they try and get into your house or the area, the office that you work in, by pretending to be a supplier or somebody that they're not. And like Interpol released a report just the other day where they said, well, in terms of the cybercrime impact during the last year's pandemic, phishing scams, and you can see in the graph, really make up the majority of the cases. So nearly 60% of the cybercrime cases were related to phishing, and then followed up by malware distribution, which is malicious software, as well as ransomware. The other thing to realize is that often these scams are sort of shared on social media, and the same thing that I just shared with the amygdala and us reacting to emotion, fake news or misinformation, disinformation, they use the same technique. So the more emotional the messages, the more sort of it activates our beliefs, the more likely we are to share it or to comment on it. And unfortunately, like fake news, because of that, because it uses these emotional triggers, travels 6 times faster than the truth on Twitter. And why is it that we are at higher risk even right now? I mean, I'd love to hear what the situation is right now in Nigeria. Here in South Africa, we've just come out of another very hectic lockdown, but it's quite rife. Like a lot of people are still being infected. So we are asked to work from home. And if you work from home, I mean, I have 2 children, and I know how tough it is to do online schooling and working and all of that from home. And you are more stressed and anxious about the whole situation. Maybe somebody in your family got COVID. We had just the other day when my husband's uncle, who's over 80, he caught COVID. So we were all very worried and stressed. And what happens is when you're in that frame of mind, again, you are more thinking in your quick brain, it's called heuristic thinking mode, which is the reptilian brain, and it doesn't allow for that frontal lobe, that critical thinking, that logical thinking to take place. And unfortunately, that makes us much more vulnerable to social engineering attacks. Just some examples that I wanted to share, because if some of you are doing schooling or online schooling, I know that Microsoft Teams and Zoom is being used a lot. So obviously the bad guys jump on that as well. So they would send out a Microsoft Teams notification or a calendar invite, and without really looking at it because you're in a rush, or maybe it uses an emotional thing, you may just click on it, and then it takes you to a Office 365 sign-in page that looks very much like your school possibly, or the company you work for. And then unfortunately, as soon as you type in your credentials here, or your username and password, it actually goes to the bad guys, and voila, they're in your account and can cause all sorts of damages. So the message here is always try not to click on things, especially if you haven't expected it. But even if you happen to click on it, to look at the URL on top and always make sure, geez, is this actually the correct domain that or the correct address that I'm supposed to go. The other thing that I saw, investment scams are very rife in South Africa as well as in Nigeria. I did some research about the, I think the Binomo investment scam, where these scammers would send out WhatsApps in the name of the investment house, and then try and trick people to, you know, like too good to be true kind of deals, and send their money to invest, and it obviously goes to the bad guys. And they even set up sort of fake social media accounts of celebrities to try and incite people to invest in stuff that's too good to be true. I think the message here, again, like anything in life, is if it's too good to be true, it's not going to be true. So don't fall for it. Vaccination scams. As soon as the vaccinations become available, the bad guys will send out scams. They will send you SMSs, they will send you emails, WhatsApps, and all they're trying to do is to get you to submit your personal information and pay some sort of fee. So be very, very careful to not fall for these kind of notifications, and to make sure that whichever way your government will communicate, that you know what the correct method is and the correct domains that you need to look out for. The other thing that's interesting is if we look at data breaches and why is that important, and I'll explain now in terms of our passwords, is that, you know, there's like billions of usernames and passwords available on the darknet. And this is because a lot of these big companies had data breaches before. What does it mean? It means that the hackers or the bad guys got in and they got access to all the usernames and passwords that were registered in this account. Let's say Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn or Microsoft. So really reputable big sites that most of us probably have an account at, right? And what happens is that these username and password combinations are now available on the dark web, and the bad guys don't have to crack our passwords. They just sort of go through these lists, and then they see if we haven't used the same password on another account, and then try and get in. And this is exactly what happened with Zoom last year. Zoom was like, there was a big bad press that 500,000 account details were leaked or hacked. All that happened is that the bad guys bought these lists from the dark web, and then they tried out the same username and password on Zoom as what was available on these sort of previously breached sites. And that's called credential stuffing. So it's literally, you know, if you've had the same password, we all have done it. So I know everybody has the same problem, that we reuse our passwords. And the problem with that is that it's very likely that that password may have already been breached somewhere, and then they can use it to get into your really sort of sensitive accounts like email, social media. What else can we expect, like, you know, beyond last year or this year? So what we've also seen is the use of deepfake technology in the scams. So what they've done, for example, is and now with all of us being on video and sort of, you know, like virtual, this is even more dangerous, because they have impersonated the voice of a CEO in this example, and then they called the victim using the voice of the CEO and instructing the victim to transfer money. Now, if you receive a message from, let's say, your CEO or your headmaster or your parents even that sound legit, you do what they tell you, and that's what's so dangerous with this like new technology, deepfake technology. Okay, but what can we do to protect ourselves? I guess the first thing, I mentioned it before, is to always take a breather. Whatever happens, if you get a phone call, a WhatsApp or an email, just look at it a bit slowly. I know we're always in a rush, but don't click on stuff while you're running somewhere. Like, rather take your time and look at it properly and be too cautious. So stop, think, verify with anything that's incoming. And sort of use your critical mind, your frontal lobe. If it invokes a feeling, especially if it invokes a feeling or an emotion, that's a red flag. If it asks you to action something like clicking on a link or providing information, that's another red flag. If you don't know the sender, obviously that's like sort of an obvious thing, but even if you know the sender, you can't really trust it because they may have compromised that Facebook account, for example, or they may pretend to be that person that you know. So one of the #1 rules like that I take is if I haven't expected it, I usually don't trust it. So anything that comes in that I don't know for sure, I'm like, is that, let me look at this a bit closer. And one way of checking when emails come in or any sort of messages, social media, WhatsApp, etc., is to make sure you check how the URL or the domain is set up. And then it can give you like clues whether you're going to a fake one or not. So I'm going to run you through this quickly. This is an example I've used. I think, Felix, like remind me, I think they're called the big elephant or something, your soccer team, your most
Is it going to be lots in use?
successful soccer team
Thinking for a while. All right, yes.
in Nigeria.
Super Eagles.
Yes, I don't. So I've just looked at. I think.
Okay, Ayimba Football Club. Yeah.
Ayimba. So there's something elephant, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the official website. So if you look up their players, that's where you go. Now, what we need to look out for any domain or URL is always the first / that sort of, you know, that you see after. So you've got the HTTPS and then the 2 / and then you've got the domain and then the sort of primary domain.net, and then there's a /. So this is the first thing you look for. And then this gives you sort of, that's the top level domain. Often if it's like .ng, it's Nigeria, .za, 0.za, it's South Africa. So that's like a country, that's the top level domain. Then the word Ayimba FC, that's like the actual address, the physical address, that's the house of the you can picture like an address, that's the primary domain. And this is sort of important to remember. So if you then get a link that takes you to finance.ayambafc.net, the first thing you do again is you look at that first / and then you check, is this legit or not? And I'd like to do a little quiz here, but it's not, you know, let's just move on. So the first thing you do is, okay, Ayamba FC is the domain. Anything before it that is separated by a dot or you know, like a full stop, that's called a subdomain. So that could be like a department, you know, like I don't know, finance, for example. And then whatever is behind that first / those are subdirectories, like little drawers. Picture them like, you know, little drawers in a cupboard. So that's still all legit. So it could be like the finance is a subdomain of that domain, and then there's like a subdirectory. So this is all good. However, now we get an email that wants to take us to this kind of thing. So in that case, if we look again, we find the first / and then the address before that is actually a IP address, a 196.24.14.34. That is the address. It's not in Ayamba FC because that's just a subdomain. So that is very dodgy because now it's taking us somewhere that we don't even know where that is. It's an IP address. So this is the domain. And then again, the subdomain is in Ayamba FC, but that means nothing. It means we're going 2196, which we don't know where that is. The next one is like, if they separate, like if you look here, finance dash and Yamba FC, that is the total domain. If you look at the, where the first forward slash is. So it's no longer in Yamba FC, it's that whole finance dash, that's the whole word now. So unfortunately, again, this will not take you to the soccer club, it will take you to some criminal's dodgy fake website. So those are just some things to take note of, that when you look at URLs, when you get a phishing email, that you just hover over it, preferably without clicking on it, and then you check, what is the actual domain? And often the bad guys, what they do is they try and trick us. They put, for example, Microsoft in the subdirectory or in the subdomain, and it looks at first glance could be legit, but if you look at the domain, which is the piece before the first forward slash, this is how I explain it to my family, for example. That's what you need to look for, and that's the critical component. So keeping ourselves or yourself and your family safe, number one, it really literally comes down to not falling for these social engineering or human hacking attacks. Like, keep up to date with the latest scams that are going around. Be aware of this phishing and vishing, voice phishing and WhatsApp scams. Don't ever click on links if you don't have to, or open attachments, especially not if you haven't expected them. The other thing you can do with all your devices, by the way, and that's whether it's your phone or your a computer, keep it up to date. Like, really, I know it's irritating, but it's important, because a lot of the sort of malicious software or the malware that make their rounds, they need vulnerabilities or weaknesses in our software, and if we keep that up to date, we can prevent that. And that also includes things like apps and browser plugins. And then another thing is to have sound passwords, like really use good password practices. And that, I know, is like a whole topic on its own, but just to summarize, like, the number one thing is, wherever you can, use something that's called multi-factor authentication. So that is not just your username and password, I'm just looking for my phone here, but that is using an app that you can install on your phone, for example, Google Authenticator. And when you log in, you need your username and your password, plus that third factor, which could be the one-time PIN that your Google Authenticator generates on your phone. So that means, like, if somebody were to steal your username and password, they also have to either trick you to hand over your OTP, or they have to steal your phone literally to get in. So it just makes it a bit more difficult for the bad guys. Then for I say, like, your really important accounts, like your bank accounts, like your password manager accounts, like, create like a really cool password, and that's long, and preferably using a passphrase and unique. And I'll show you just now how to do that. The other thing I suggest to all my friends and everyone I know is use a password manager. It really is impossible for us to keep like long and unique passwords for every account. We're not built for that. Our brains aren't clever enough. So instead of writing them, which is the first place, by the way, that hackers will look if you store it in a browser or you write it on a Word document somewhere or a spreadsheet, that's the first place that a hacker will look for. So rather use a password manager, because that is really with your wallet. It creates and stores all your passwords, and all you need to do is remember one strong password to get in it. If you work for a company already, then don't use your work email address necessarily on other accounts. And then also there's a website called haveibeenpawned.com. You may want to just check your private and maybe your work or your school email address on there to see if that has been used or breached somewhere before. And if it has, then don't worry. It's very likely that it will be there, but then you just make sure you change your passwords and don't use that same password anywhere else. Here's like just a trick that I use to, not that particular song, but I use a song. And then I take the first letters of each word to generate my stem password. So in this case, I used, I'm showing my age, but bless the rains down in Africa. So that's a nice song. I use the first letters, and then I can add something like a number and like an emoji. And then I have a really strong, complicated looking password, but in my head, I just sing the song and it's easy to remember. And it's funny how often when we have friends over, you know, they say, how can I log into your wireless? They see me type it into their phones and it's this long-winded thing. And they're like, how can you remember that? And I'm like, it's easy. It's just a song, you know? So that's one way of doing it. But using a password manager, I really highly recommend that. That will save you so much headaches and it's worth it. Information is valuable. If you're still in school, be aware also that there are predators out there. Like every day there's 500,000 people, 500,000 of perverts out there that all they want to do is try and groom you. And whether you're a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter. They try and say for internet days and others, and keep sort of on top of this will make you much less likely to fall victim to this. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. You're welcome to follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. It's just Anna Collard, and I think Twitter it's Anna Collard 3. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that there may be. And thanks again for having me, Felix.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna. That was a wonderful presentation. Some key takeaways there. You know, if it is too good, definitely it can never be good. If you don't expect, don't trust it. They are lazy. Yeah, they are lazy, and that is why they are out there trying to look for who to hack. You know, say take a breath before you respond to any information or mail. You know, and the issue of phishing is also very, very notable, because in this part of the world, it has been identified that it is the highest trick, you know, or way for hackers and cyber criminals to attack personalities. Thank you very much, Anna Collard. This is a wonderful presentation. I think we want to open, because now is question and answer section before you go back. Oh, thank God you are still you are working from home. Thank God you are working from home. So the COVID in South Africa has nothing to do with you now. So we are now open for question and answer. But before participants have the time to ask one or two questions, I would like you to elaborate more on phishing, because you just dropped the word phishing, and it's my belief that so many of us participating here will really understand. Maybe phishing as in a fisherman, or phishing as in internet. Please, can you elucidate and let us know exactly what you're talking about, phishing?
Yes, and it's actually quite, there is a link. So if we think about phishing of the fishermen, that's in a way, it's what the bad guys are doing. So they're trying to catch us. So we are the fish in this instance, and they're the fishermen, trying to lure us with baits. The bait is sort of the thing that is too good to be true. The bait is the email or the WhatsApp that tries and trick us into either clicking a link, opening an attachment. So phishing really describes any form of, and it's not just email, by the way, it could also be over the phone, it could be on WhatsApp or social media. So any time that a criminal or somebody is trying to either impersonate somebody that they're not, or they try and trick you into giving out your information, or clicking on something that will then infect your device or your machine, whichever you're coming from, that is under the sort of, that's called phishing. So there are, within that, there's a couple of sort of sub-forms. We talk about spear phishing. For example, again, you can picture the fisherman with a spear. It's exactly the same thing. The normal normal phishing is sort of, they send out an email to thousands of people and then they hope that they get like the 1% that falls for it. The spear phishers are a little bit more tricky because they do their homework. They will research you. They will try and find out as much about you before they get going. So they look at social media. What can I find about this person? Where do you work? You know, like maybe I will Google, for example, Mr. Chris Eber, and I say, well, okay, he works for this organization. What can I see on social media? And then they pretend that they're either from somebody that they know this person is already friends with or in contact with, or they use some sort of hook that makes it much more likely for you to believe it, because now they know you. Know it's something that is a good example is I may find out where you went to school, and then or where you are in school, and then I will pretend I'll spoof the school email address, which is easy to do. I pretend I'm somebody in the administrative office, and I send you an email about a sexual abuse case. Now already your heart will go up. You're like, what is this? You know, it's an abuse case. You think it's from the school that you are at. You will be more likely to click on it, and as soon as you click on it, bang, they have you on the hook. So that is phishing in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. Elaborate explanation. At this point, I think the floor is open to engage Anna, you know, before she takes her leave. Please indicate.
While we're waiting, one day I would love to come and visit your beautiful country. I was actually meant to fly in June, I think, last year to come. There was some security conference, and unfortunately it was all cancelled, obviously, or meant virtual. But yeah, Nigeria is definitely on my list.
That'll be wonderful. Maybe by next year we will have a physical event where we can have you one-on-one and you speak to young people. We've been doing this for a very long time. So it's unfortunate that COVID is in-house, and we are now doing it virtual. So you are highly welcome. Remember, we are big brothers.
Anna, I think maybe if this COVID is a bit friendly, by October for the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we can have you come to Nigeria. We'll plan very big.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know what it is with the vaccinations in Nigeria right now. Our government, they forgot to apply for it, and then I think they were too late. So they're only starting now. We're getting like 1 million in just for the healthcare workers. So I don't know when we will be vaccinated and allowed to travel. It may still be a while, but yeah, let's hope for October. If not, we can do another Zoom virtual one.
Yeah. Anna, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Now, I read an article that you wrote. I think that article drew me to you. That article talks about opportunities for cybersecurity in Africa. I want to know what your organization are doing, and also if you can just explain a little bit about the article. Thank you.
Okay, so the interesting thing is, so I've worked in cybersecurity for nearly 20 years, and like cybersecurity when I first started was just a small little niche, and now it's become one of the biggest sectors in the IT industry. So if you think about technology, then security is a big component of it, because we can't go towards fourth industrial revolution if we don't secure whatever we're building, right? So it's really it has become such a big industry, and unfortunately there aren't enough resources or enough people, not just in Africa or in South Africa. It's the same problem all over the world. So we have a real shortage of cybersecurity skills. And what happens, I can talk for South Africa and my own experience, you know, we hire somebody and then they get skilled up and then they get poached by overseas companies. So it's really difficult to retain good security skills. And what we're trying to achieve is to get more youngsters, especially also young girls and women, to investigate cybersecurity as a career path, because it's not, you don't have to be necessarily a ethical hacker or a hardcore coder. It's so wide. I mean, obviously you get that as well, and that is fun, but security spans everything. It spans the psychology, like I just spoke about, the social engineering, the culture of security, communications. You have to help companies to communicate. You can go into auditing, because there's lots of companies that need to be audited. So there's such a wide aspects of career choices. And I think if we can get more African youngsters to consider security as a career choice, it will do a lot, to help us to get more skills, but it will also do a lot in terms of like the youth development. And it's a real opportunity. Like, as soon as you establish yourself, and you don't even have to, because there aren't really degrees or university thing. It's so new, that industry, that all you need to do is show an attitude for learning. You have to be curious. You want to learn every day. We never stop. Like I said, I've been in it for 20 years. I know nothing. Every day I learn new things. That's how you have to think. And if you have that attitude, you don't need to go to some fancy university, because people don't look at that. They look at your willingness to learn and your attitude. And I'll tell you, within 2-3 years of experience, you can then go and work anywhere in the world, because there is such a demand for cybersecurity skills. So it's such a cool industry to get into. They pay a lot, I can tell you that too, because if we don't have enough people, the vendors are fighting for the best engineers or the best people. So it's a really cool, I guess, way to get into. And my dream would be if maybe we can get more African youngsters to consider it and become security ambassadors or security professionals, that we become like a hub, and then outsource security skills to the rest of the world. So that would be nice. And maybe, Felix, I can also mention the GovX challenge. If anyone, any of the students over 18 want to participate, we've just kicked off an initiative in South Africa to incentivize more youth to, join the security industry by coming up with innovative solutions to tackle our local government's challenges, like how to respond to cybercrime, for example. And it's a fun way to get access to mentors and webinars. And then there's a prize at the end of it's a 3 months project. And if you submit a cool idea, if you are chosen, you get then mentored. And then at the end of it, there's a 100,000 Rand, which is about, I don't know what that is in Naira, but in dollars, it's probably about $70,000 prize, which is quite significant. That's just for the first prize, and then there's the runner-up prizes. So it's a cool initiative to try and get more youngsters involved and interested in security. Sorry, it was a long answer, but I'm very passionate about that.
Anna, thank you. Anna, please, can you just write it on the chat box so that they can see? Because I know when I saw the post you shared, and I asked you if Nigerian can participate. And Adedoyin is here. Adedoyin is my colleague. Adedoyin is here. Adedoyin is part of my team. And then Chris Ibe. Our team name is Cyber Aware Nigeria. Yeah. Cool. So 3 of us are part of a team. So we work together on this.
Okay, awesome. You just have to, the only qualifying criteria is that you are over 18 and that you're still enrolled as a student somewhere. So you have to be part of a institution.
Okay.
But yeah, we're looking for ideas from all over. It's not, well, all over Africa. It's limited to Africa.
Okay, thank you.
So spread the word if you know more students that might be interested.
Okay.
Oh, I've sent it to, sorry, I just sent it to one. Let me send it to everyone. govx.co.za. There we go.
Chris?
Thank you very much, Anna. It's been a wonderful responses. I had expected our participants to seize the opportunity to also engage you, but it's like most of them are cyber shy. They are cyber shy. They don't want to really engage you. You know, considering your status as cyber evangelist. You know, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. So thank you very much, Anna. I think anyone that has something else to add to what Felix has asked, please kindly pass it directly to Anna or Felix. Without wasting much of our time, we want to go to the panel discussion, the discussion session. Our panelists for today, we have Oyindamola Adegboye, Internet for Good. Is she here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're highly welcome. We also have Tamuno Tonye Nyekwere.
Tonye is not here. It's having the
Okay, Tonye is not here. We also have Aisha Ojima. I know Aisha very well. She is the coordinator of International Center for Leadership Development Nigeria in Abuja. Is Aisha with us here?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. And our info security expert in the house, Adedoyin Adedeji. Doyin, you're highly welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me today.
Yes. As the moderator of this session, you remember that I'm just a messenger, and I have been given some topics, tips that you guys will educate us, considering the theme for the year, Together for a Better Internet. So I want to take on our first panelist for today. By way of introduction, she is a social impact strategist who works at the intersection of communication, social policy, and youth development, with 5 years experience that cuts across both private and non-profit sector. Her professional competencies encompasses strategic and development, communication consultancy, project design, management, and writing research. She is currently the project lead for Internet for Good, a project funded by Robert Bosch Stiftung, which seeks to challenge negative stereotypes about how young Africans use internet. Oyindamola is also an emeritus Mundus Joint Master's Degree scholar in education policies for global development at the University of Oslo, Amsterdam, Malta, Barcelona. Consequently, she has garnered work and study experience in 5 countries across Africa and Europe. In 2018, she became a founding member and country representative for the Common Futures Conversations, a Chatham House project that connects Africa and Europe youth to senior policymakers through digital engagement. She is a 2019 Ban Ki-moon Global Citizen Scholar and the European Forum Alf Batch, and is most passionate about education, non-profit, sustainability, gender, ICT for development. Wow, that's a long one. Oyindamola, you are highly welcome. You are highly welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Secondly, we have Aisha Ojima, with over 12 years experience in information, communication technology, a PhD in VIEW student. That should be University of NSUK, a master's degree in information technology, National Open University, BSc Computer Science, Birmingham University in Kuru, a professional diploma in software engineering. Oh my God, education here is. So we want to use this opportunity to welcome Aisha to this great session.
Thank you very much.
Aisha, you're highly
Thank you for
welcome.
having me.
We have Adetoyi, is the managing partner at Blue Rev Limited, an IT consulting and project management agency based in Lagos. He is also the chief operating officer for International Center for Leadership Development. He is an IT project manager, writer, development of value-based leadership, a strong advocate for positive use of the internet among Nigerian youth. He has keen interest in global peace, wildlife conservation, climate change. He is a member of the International Institute for Global Leadership and the author of the book, Choosing Rewarding Career in Technology. Oyin, you're highly welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So without wasting much of our time, we are heading straight to Oyin Damola. Understanding online safety tips. Please, can we have you on this particular topic?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chris, for the wonderful introduction you've given, and thank you everyone for also attending. It's really a pleasure to be here. Just generally talking about online safety tips, I think it's very important for people to feel safe online, for people to know that whatever they're doing online is not putting them at risk. We live in an age where obviously what you do online is not just totally separate from your life anymore. It's literally like an extension of your life. We put a lot of our information online, especially now that with COVID and everything that is going on, we're literally living most of our lives online, right? So I think it's a very, very important topic, and I will want to talk about it from different angles. First, I want to talk about it generally. I think when we're talking about adults, we as young adults or adults generally, what it means to be safe online, there are general precautions that I'm very sure some of us are already aware about when it comes to how you can keep safe online. But just to, I guess, ensure that everyone is on the same page, it's important to know that when people are trying to, when we're talking about online safety, it's not just about cybercrime or people trying to steal money from you. There are people all over the internet trying to do other things beyond stealing money from you. There's identity theft. People might want to, take information from you that they can use to do other things on the internet by using your identity, right? So people, sensitive information like your name, your date of birth and your address. Those are very, very sensitive information that you don't just share anyhow. So it's very important to be mindful of platforms that we share such information and the avenues through which we share that kind of information. And so, in Nigeria, for instance, I would say one of the most common kinds of scams that we encounter is the scam that has to do with your ATM PIN, or the ones where people try to use social media to also get you to pay money into certain accounts or give money. Some people, steal the identities of pastors or famous people and say, give this person money, so seed into this ministry and things like that. So those are some of the other scams. And during the peak of COVID-19, we saw a lot of other scams that came up. So usually scammers like to jump on trends and, jump on whatever panic is happening around and say, okay, we have the solution to your problem. Just send us this information and we would reach out to you with whatever you need. But I would just also like to talk a bit about Internet for Good and what we do, and try to tie that into why it's important to, why internet safety is important, not just for, especially for children. I want to talk, a bit more about that. So Internet for Good actually started based on the fact that I realized how parents were a bit skeptical about leaving their children online for good reason. There was a lot of fear around the fact that there could be predators online. People people could influence them badly. There's pornography online. Children, once you leave them alone with the devices, they might just, do anything anyhow. And what I found interesting about that whole dynamic was the fact that even in school, there was still this fear around young people and students using the internet. So I realized this while I was doing research for my master's, which was about ICT education. And I saw that, even within schools, it was frowned at, school authorities did not really encourage students to use phones or mobile technologies or ICT technologies for learning. And I felt, while I understood the importance of maybe saying that, okay, students should not use, students should regulate the time that they use on these platforms, I thought it was a bit problematic to totally remove ICTs from the learning experience of young people, because we live in a digital age. And so digital literacy is one way is one skill you need to survive in this world. So my perspective to it is not separating young people from the internet or from ICTs, but helping them to see how they can use these technologies safely, right? Rather than saying, oh, don't use the internet at all, or don't use ICTs at all, they're bad for you, bad things are happening, scammers are there, I think in the height of all this talk about Yahoo boys, parents were also very, very, they were very skeptical about, the kind of influence their children would get just by spending time on the internet. And those are very valid concerns. But for me, I feel it's more important for your child or for your ward or whoever it is that is in your care to know how they can use the internet for good. So that's where it came from. The fact that there are many examples of young people that are using the internet creatively. We have a lot of digital entrepreneurs that are, making money legitimately online through different jobs like social media management, software engineering, programming, coding, people getting speaking engagements online, connecting with potential clients online. So I feel like that is one way we can begin to engage young people, letting them know that there are very, very many ethical ways that they can use the internet and they can use it safely. So when we now think of the internet as a tool for good, not as a tool for bad, when anything in this world can be used for good or bad, that's the truth. And the reason why we are here is to learn how to use the internet for good purposes and also use it safely, right? So while you're using the internet for good, you ensuring that you are keeping safe and you're also not putting other people at risk. So for children, I think, okay, you wanted to say something. How much more time do I have? Mr. Chris, did you want to say something?
You have barely 1 minute.
Okay, so generally, I'll just wrap up by saying that when we're thinking around internet safety, we should not think that it means that we should not think that it means removing all the good values of the internet. There are many good ways that the internet can and is already being used. So when we're thinking about keeping children and young people safe online, it's more about guiding them, letting them know more information about how they can keep safe. I'm sure many of the other speakers will go into all the specifics on how you can stay safe online. But for young children, I think one other important thing I wanted to talk about was, just really recognizing that even as parents, we should be careful about the information we put about our children online. I know this is the age of sharing, sharing a lot of details, but children, there are a lot of dangers that you might be putting your child to without necessarily knowing. We're in the age of deep fakes and putting pictures of your children online also without their consent, putting their dates of birth and their schools and all those other things could really put them at risk. So while we are sharing, let's ensure that we are not just oversharing, we are also thinking very, very deeply about what we do and staying safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. The takeaway here is we must protect our children. by way of using internet, we must not make our children vulnerable, because there are so many things going on, especially cyberbullying. These days, you see a whole lot of bullying going on. And when children are hypnotized, when children are bullied through cybercrime, it has its own psychological effect, which parents might not be in position to dictate immediately. So while using the internet, it's very, very important that you protect yourself, you protect your family, especially your children. Oyindamola, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. So Oyindamola is still available here. Whatever you want to ask, please get directly to her. She's in position to respond to you. Thank you very much. We will be going straight to the next panelist by name Aisha Ojima. So Aisha, you'll be speaking on how can parents engage their children positively when using digital media. This is very, very important to Africa and Nigeria in particular. Aisha, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I welcome everybody to the program. I hope everyone can hear me. Hello, can you please hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm talking about how parents can engage their children to positively use the digital media. So, first of all, what is digital media? The digital media refers to information that is broadcast to us through the screen. This includes text, audio, videos, and graphics. It's usually transmitted over the internet for viewing on the internet. And then we have three types. We have the owned media, the paid media, and the earned media. So the uses, what are the uses of social media? First of all, it facilitates social interaction and empowers children. Then digital media helps our children to connect in different ways. They can connect with their friends, with their loved ones, with families, and other people, even neighbors. Then how can we parents now engage our children using the social media in a positive way? First of all, we should treat the social media as we would any environment for our children. As parents, as mothers, we want our environment to be safe for the children. The children need a very safe environment to play. Now, because of the COVID, most children can't go to amusement parks. They can't go to places of recreation. So now we make our home or environment very safe for them. And then we treat the media as we would our environment. Secondly, we set limits and we encourage playtime. We have parents that give their children devices to use, and they end up spending 5 to 6 hours on those devices. And and most of the time, for those that go to school, when they come back, they don't have enough time to rest, even to do their assignments. They are always on the phone. So as parents, we should set limits. We should set playtime and encourage them to also visit sites that are safe. Number 3, we should then playing and learning time using games. There are games we can use with our children. We can encourage them to use these games to enhance their mathematics, their English language, even their verbal, their phonics. There are games to help these children to learn faster and better. Also, we should also know the value of face-to-face communication. We should just not give them devices and let them go to their room and we'll do something else. We should be there to monitor and to make sure they visit sites that are safe. We should also create tech-free zones. They shouldn't always be with phones and laptops and our iPads and the rest. There are times when there should just be family time. You should create a special time for your child to enhance your relationship with that child, not just giving the child phone every time he or she cries for phone. And then finally, don't use technology as an emotional pacifier. You don't try to bribe your child and say, okay, do this now, I'll give you my iPad, or I'll give you more data for your phone. We should encourage them to do the right thing at the right time. Now, I would quickly like to share some tips with us. The American Academy of Pediatrics updated the recommendation. This was in October 2016. Some of the recommendations they gave. First of all, children within 18 to 24 months, we should avoid social media or even the media generally for our children between 18 to 24 months, except we have to video chat. So number two, children between the age of 2 to 5 years of age, we should limit their screen time. They shouldn't spend too much time on a screen for children between 2 to 5 years of age. And they should have at least 1 hour per day to watch a screen. We shouldn't make them addicted to watching too much cartoons. You see that some kids watch cartoons for 10 to 15 hours a day. Some that don't go to school spend their whole time watching cartoons, and this is not very good for their eyes. We should limit it. Number three, we should avoid fast-paced programs and applications that distract children, and we should avoid any violent content for our kids. So programs that are very fast, that have too much flashy images, and even violent programs, we shouldn't allow our children to watch this kind of content. We should turn off television and other devices when not in use. We should teach our children how to turn or switch off devices when they are not in use. They should know the right time to watch or play a cartoon or a film, a movie, and when to switch it off. And then finally, we should monitor children media content and the app that they download. There are so many kinds of applications out there. We should monitor what they download and make sure that they always sleep, no screen, 1 hour before bedtime. They shouldn't sleep with the TV on, their phones, laptops on. You should have a rule, no screen 1 hour before bedtime. We should limit the number of time our children spend on the screen, and we should ensure that we have very good personal relationship with our children. So thank you very much. It's very short and very precise. It's time for questions. Thank you.
Please unmute.
Hello, Chris, are you there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Aisha. Your presentation was really concise and straight to the point. I think we have our participants, we have opportunity to engage you and Oyedamola. While they are doing that, I will be calling on the next and the last speaker, the last panelist for the day, Adedoyin, who will be talking on fundamentals of cybersecurity for remote work. Fundamentals for cybersecurity for remote work. Adedoyin, please, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chris and Felix. It's good being with everyone today. Because of my short time, I'll quickly just share my screen so that we could get this started, and just a minute. Come in a minute. Please share the screen. All right, so I guess everyone can see my screen now. Okay, I confirm you can see my screen. Okay, yeah, all right. So basically, we talk about cybersecurity for businesses and fundamental cybersecurity for remote work for people that are, because as we said earlier, we are at a time where an interesting time where a lot of people are forced to work from home. A lot of businesses are forced to do business from their homes and all that. So it's very important at this time also that we talk about some of these things so that it helps. I mean, it improves our chances of working online and also be safe online while we work. So majorly our content today is majorly just talking about cyber security and your business, common type of cyber attacks, and becoming cyber secure. So Okay, so cybersecurity and your business. As more businesses move from physical stores and offices to the online space, the nature of threats they face changes. And that's very clear from what we've seen in the last few months. Over the last few years, the scale of cyber attacks against small and medium-scaled sized businesses have increased majorly because they are softer targets for cyber criminals that cast out their nets on the internet looking for new victims. And like our first speaker said when she mentioned about phishing, majorly cyber criminals just cast out their emails, cast out their bots to look for new victims. The threats have been further compounded by the pandemic that has forced millions of people and businesses across the world to shift to remote work, thus making cybersecurity management harder for businesses. Because we work in a decentralized system as it is right now, we are not under the corporate security that we probably have if you are probably working from an office. But today, people work from home and they don't have that corporate cybersecurity system. So which makes a whole lot of people more vulnerable to cyber attacks. All right. So and since the beginning of the pandemic, the US FBI reported a jump in case. That's over 300% increase in cybercrime. Just between February last year to within a year, we've had an increase in a cyber attack of about 300%. Okay, so what are the types of cyber attacks we will likely face? Well, the common ones that we have is we have the malware attacks. The malware attacks are the normal ones we've been used to, which is antivirus and probably planting virus on your computer or your phone and trying to steal information based on some of these things. Something we've always done. Then we have the phishing, which our first speaker talked about. So we have the general phishing, we have the spear phishing, and we have the whale phishing. Well, the general phishing is just the normal ones we see every time. It means that an email is sent to you and they expect you to probably act on it. And if you act on it, you are likely going to get hacked and you probably be compromised online. Then we have the spear phishing. The spear phishing is whereby like a research is done maybe on certain employees of a company, maybe the accountants, the admin, or the HR, and emails are sent to these people just to get into the system of the company and also probably perform certain illegal operations through these assets. And we have the whale phishing, which is you target the boss, that's the head of the organization, maybe the CEO, the manager, the head of department, you target those people. And we've seen this particularly the whale phishing occur in a lot of big time hacking where they hack the boss, because the truth is a lot of people at the top don't really, they expect that, okay, they've paid some cybersecurity professionals to work for them. So they don't really care about, I mean, they just expect that, okay, you do your magic. But then as we proceed, we'll see why that's the problem. So they hack the boss and uses the boss email address to send the accounting department an email or a fake invoice, which, I mean, the accounting department might likely not verify from the boss because it's come from the top and will likely just act on it and all that. Then we have website hacking. For those that are moving their business online, your website hacking is also a vulnerability you will likely face. Another one is denial of service. So if, for example, you are selling online, you have an e-commerce store, you're selling online, and probably people decide to attack your website. If they can't hack your website, maybe your website is secured enough for them not to hack. What they do is they do what we call denial of service, meaning that they send a lot of requests to your server, which eventually crashes your server. So if they can't hack your server, they'll make your server, they'll crash your server so that it won't be operational for you to do your business. So we've also seen this kind of attacks, particularly for big corporation banks, and a lot of them have faced some of these attacks. Then we have man in the middle attack. Man in the middle attack is a very interesting type of attack, and it's generally a kind of attack that a lot of people need to be aware of. Now, man in the middle attack majorly works when you connect to a Wi-Fi. For example, you go to a place, for example, in the airport, and you connect to maybe a public Wi-Fi, for example. that's when a man-in-the-middle attack occurs. So now the Wi-Fi you're connecting to, you don't know who the owner of the Wi-Fi is. You are connected to that Wi-Fi. I know a lot of us, I mean, everybody, free Wi-Fi is as good as a free meal these days. So, but then be careful when you connect to free Wi-Fi, because it might be a hacker that is setting up the wire, that's the wireless signal. And the truth is, when you use the Wi-Fi to connect to the internet, all the information you are passing through that Wi-Fi is being collected by the hacker, and always they can always use it against you. You have zero-day exploit. Zero-day exploit is some of the softwares you use and you refuse to update. Sometimes there are always vulnerabilities that are being discovered in some of the softwares. And sometimes they send patches out for you to update. So for example, like your mobile phone, for example, you have a lot of apps on your mobile phone. From time to time, there are always updates on these apps. I know sometimes it could be data, it could drain your data to update some of these things, your phone, your laptop, or your system. But then to prevent yourself from being vulnerable to zero-day attacks, it's always important that you always update your softwares from time to time. Then we have the drive-by attack. The drive-by attack is majorly you are browsing online, you probably visit a website. The website may have been hacked and malicious code may have been placed on the website. Now, by visiting that website, you might not be aware. You might just be doing your normal this thing. I'm sure some of us, when we have antivirus on, or if you have antivirus on your system and it's worked with your browser, sometimes when you visit some website, you will see your antivirus popping up and telling you that, oh, this website actually contains malware that you should not, and it probably disconnects your visit to that website. So that's a drive-by attack. So it's one of the reasons why it's always important that you have antivirus on your laptop. And these days, there are a lot of free antiviruses you can use today. So you don't necessarily have to even pay. While we encourage that you use a paid antivirus, at least for a minimal protection or for a basic protection, you can still always use a free antivirus for your computer and also your phone. Then we have the brute force or dictionary network attack. Now, basically, this one is trying to guess your password. Now, a brute force or dictionary network attack is they try to guess your password on a particular service online. And for some of us that use dictionary word for our password, I would encourage that you desist from using dictionary word as your password. So you could use all that kind of, you could add it up with symbols or with numbers just to make it this one. But then it takes less than 5 seconds for a hacker to run through all the words in the dictionary to try to guess your password if you have one. So there are softwares for all these things already. Okay, then we have the malware attack, which our first speaker mentioned. Is they attack your network or your computers and they expect you to pay some money for that to be resolved. Okay, so all this also can be resolved when you are careful with how you use your online systems. Okay, then we have the insider attack, which is somebody within the organization is responsible for your attack. It's common, particularly for financial organizations like banks and all that. So we've had bank officials that are coming with a flash drive, plug it into a computer in the office that triggers what we call a botnet or a worm that runs through the system and steals information about systems and other users and all that. So these are some of the common type of attacks we'll likely face from time to time. Okay, so and 95% of cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. Okay, we talk about attacks, we talk about vulnerability, but then for businesses, a huge amount of these cyber breaches are due to human error. So how do we secure ourselves online? We talked about earlier, our first speaker mentioned about business email compromise. Majorly trying to compromise your email address because your email address is linked to almost most of your online identity, from your bank to your social media accounts. Almost everything, your email address and your phone number is linked to your online identity. Okay, so it's very, very important that you keep that safe. All right, and it's one of the biggest threats to cybersecurity for small and medium-scale businesses. Now, email phishing, like we say, is a less technical form of hacking, but highly effective. It majorly leverages social engineering to steal users' online identity. Our first speaker has talked about social engineering, so I won't dwell too much on that. Fake urgent emails with malicious link or file attachment are sent to users. By interacting with this email, downloading the attachments or clicking on the link, your email is compromised and also your data, and you get and all that. So I'll probably just run through a case study of two things that you need to know. So I'll bring it home a bit more. Now, so these are some of the email phishing this I've gotten over the years. Now, like you can see, email deactivation warning for probably so and so person. Now you can see the name, that's this particular company. You can see that it doesn't tally. We have a clickedge.com and we have one email, one-email.com. So it doesn't always tally. And like I said, they would always have a link in there. So like, for example, now they're telling you want to deactivate your email and that you should upgrade to the latest version and all that. So by clicking on this, you would likely click on a fake or a vulnerable website and you get hacked and all that. So another very good example is your bank. I'm sure a lot of us have various banks, but this was one of those I got from my bank, which is token activation from GT Bank. Now you will notice that this is not, when you get emails like this, the first thing you have to do is check the email address is coming from. This is not a GT Bank email address, okay? GT Bank does not use gens.com. Okay, so if you are not very familiar, their site is gtbank.com. Okay, so if you are not familiar with it, you will likely fall victim to this kind of attacks. And also, you also notice that it's sent to multiple people. Okay, if GTBank will send you an email, they'll send it directly to you. They don't send it to multiple recipients. And now they're telling me that I need to probably synchronize my something like trying to trigger me to make some action. So you're mandated to copy and paste this link. So they want me to go to this link to log into my banking platform so they can steal my my banking details and probably use that as a vulnerability against me. So these are some of the few things you need to take cognizance of. So an email that you do not expect, the first thing is you calm down and you try to ask yourself, okay, is this real or is this not real? So if you get an email from your bank and you're not sure what it is, it's better you call your bank or go straight to the bank to go and clarify some of these things. All right. So becoming cyber secure. How do you secure yourself online? Well, I will probably just run through all this. So the first one is don't use the same password for multiple accounts. Don't use one password for all your online accounts. I know it's very difficult to manage multiple passwords, but then our first speaker has talked about using password managers. There are a lot of password managers that you can use online. Just go on Google, search for password managers, and you get a whole lot of them, and it helps you to do whatever you need to do online. Use long, complex password with letters, numbers, and special characters, which is also something you should definitely use. Don't use dictionary words straight away. You can use dictionary words, but don't just use them. Use them with special characters, numbers, and a whole lot of other things. Then don't enter your password in an unsecure or free Wi-Fi. Now, a lot of us, everybody loves the free Wi-Fi, but whenever you are using a free Wi-Fi or a Wi-Fi that is not, you don't know the source. So take, for example, you are in an hotel or maybe you are in an event and they tell you connect to this Wi-Fi. Yes, it's possible that you can connect to that Wi-Fi. If I know that Wi-Fi, as the hacker, I can be in that same conference or that same event with you and also throw up a Wi-Fi information that is similar to what the event organizers are saying that you should connect to. And when you connect to it, I can steal all your information and nobody would know. So the rule of thumb is when you are using a free Wi-Fi, a Wi-Fi that you don't know the source, don't enter sensitive information on that kind of Wi-Fi. You can do your regular browsing, but don't enter sensitive information like your banking details or your password in such Wi-Fi. They regularly back your data up externally and ensure it's easy for you to restore. So what you can do in this case is, so take for example, like your laptop or something, you could always back it up, have an external drive where you can always back up your work on an external drive so that in case maybe there's a vulnerability or something, you can always restore back some of this information. You don't have to lose all your information, okay? Don't open an email attachment or click on a link from an unknown sender. So if you don't know the sender of an email, it's better you don't click on the email or click on the link inside. And when you get email from somebody you know, but you don't expect that kind of email from them, it's also important that you inform them or seek clarification from them there have been times where I get like email about an invoice from someone, and I'm like, okay, why are you sending me an invoice? And it's very easy for me to download that invoice and get infected. But what I do most of the time is I try to call the person, like, okay, why are you sending me this invoice? And most of the time they tell you, oh, it's not, they don't even know they are already hacked. Okay, so it's when you now inform them that they have to now start taking precautions to protect their emails and all that. All right. So, but if you have acted on it without calling them, you also would have fallen into that chain of vulnerability. Okay, so if you are shopping or banking online, double check the address of the site before you buy or enter your banking details. So if you are shopping online or you want to bank online, make sure you type in the bank address yourself. Type it yourself. Don't click on the link to go there. Type it yourself, and it improves your chances of not being hacked or your information being stolen. Okay. Can we mute that? All right. So I think the next one is do not share your passwords. Do not share your password with your friends, family, or co-workers. Do not share your password with. Don't say, oh, because this person is my friend, I can share my password with them. They might not mean harm to you, but they might not be as careful as you are when it comes to some of this information. So somebody might leave, for example, now when you are going out, you may log out and walk away, but somebody might log into your maybe your Facebook or whatever, forget to log out from the computer and walk away. So they might not be as careful as you are, even if they don't mean you any harm. You never can tell how much security they put around the information you give to them. So don't store your password in an unsecure location. So I know keeping too many passwords is always difficult, but don't open a notepad or a Word document in your computer and type in all your password there. When your site get, I mean, when your system get hacked tomorrow, it's one of the things that some of these people will look out for and try to use against you. So always use secure password managers, like we have LastPass, we have 1Password, we have Firefox Lockwise, which you can always use. Then keep all your software antivirus up to date and your operating system up to date. So all your antivirus, all your operating system, your laptop, your tablet, always update all your apps and also your antivirus to ensure that you are safe. And always use multi-factor authentication, usually called two-factor authentication for your online accounts. But I know a lot of us that do online banking, we are already doing some of these things. So take, for example, now you want to do online banking, and your online banking gives you an extra token that you can always use when you want to do your online banking. So also, if you want to log in, some of your sensitive online accounts, sometimes some platforms will send you an email, apart from you entering your username and password. Before you log in, they'll send you like an authentication code either to your phone or to your email address. So if you have the option to set that up, put that up, so that even if they get your username and password, they will still need to probably have access to your phone or your email address before they can finally hack the account, which is like a longer process for them. Okay, so lock your computer when you are walking away from it. Okay, don't leave your computer open and say, for example, you're in the office, you do, okay, I trust everybody in my office. You can't really trust anybody. So it doesn't cost you so much to lock your computer and walk away and come back to it. Okay, access control is very, very important, because you might feel that, okay, there's nothing much on my computer that anybody can do. While you're away, somebody can log in into your computer because it's open and use it for something malicious and log out, and you won't even know. And that will be traced back to your computer without you even knowing. Okay, and lastly, for businesses, we do encourage that training and capacity development remain one of the biggest cybersecurity strategies. You can put all the security measures you have in place, but if your human assets, which are your staff, are not well trained, then it makes a mess of all the cybersecurity measures you've put in place. Because whatever the security measures you put in place, ultimately, it's still humans that will have to manage the process. So if you do not develop them, then it makes a mess of all the investment you've made in your cybersecurity. So always learn to train and build capacity for your human assets, because they remain the weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity for a whole lot of organizations. All right. So thank you very much, and I hope I've been able to share a number of things with every one of us, and I've also been able to learn a number of things also. All right. So I think that's it. So I won't take too much of your time. So we are open to questions, and we are also open to
Thank you very much,
discussions.
Adedoyin, for this wonderful presentation. I was really overwhelmed by your presentation. You know, most of us, we are actually victims of what you are talking about. And I think your presentation will go a long way in reshaping our behaviors when it comes to the use of internet. Thank you very much. At this point, I want to call on the participants
Thank you for
to
having
ask
me.
questions or make contributions to our panelists, to the presentation of our panelists. But in the absence of any presentation, any question, I will call the founder and
There's a
executive
question,
director.
Chris, on the chat box.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Doing, please, how do you retain a hacked account?
Okay.
Okay. How do you retain a hacked account? Well, that's a tricky question. Now, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what service was hacked? That's one. Now, the service that was hacked, for example, if it's maybe your social media account, immediately you discover that it has been hacked. Most of the time, what you can do is talk to the customer care of the service. This is the issue you have. They will try to verify your identity and all that, and somehow they can help you to recover it. So a lot of people that probably they've had their Instagram or Twitter account hacked, this is how they got it back. So you verify by some of the customers, they will ask you to verify your identity, and if they can prove that, okay, truly you are the one that owns this account, then they can help you to recover it. Now, usually what happens is immediately you notice that, okay, your account has been hacked. Most of the time they try to change your details, like your your email address, the phone numbers there, so that you can't recover it. So immediately you discover that, okay, your account has been hacked. Generally, what we recommend is you quickly log in, you quickly try to reset it before they make some of those changes, okay? Before they make some of those changes to either your email address or your phone number, before they try to make those changes, you quickly log in to do a quickly email reset before they do that. But if you can't, if they've done that before you notice the hack, then what you can do is to go to the customer care of some of these services and try to complain to them. It might take a bit of time, but if you stick at it, you likely get your account back.
I have a question.
Okay. Sorry, one more before that. Just hold on. There's somebody talking about password manager. Is it not also possible for hackers to put up password managers app that people can download and become vulnerable? Okay, yes, it's possible, and that's why we listed that's why we listed out the options you have for secure. There are password managers that are like globally used, and you can trust that, okay, they are secure. So the same way you have browsers that you can trust. You have Chrome, you have Mozilla that you can trust. There are also fake browsers that if you use can steal your information. So the same way too, there are password managers that you can always trust. And some of the ones that I listed earlier, they are ones that have been used over the years and people trust and use. So I think you should just stick to those ones. Then you can, you will relatively be safe. But don't go and look for password managers that are not probably known or popular and you try to use. If you do that, you'll probably put yourself in more danger than you can imagine. But then stick to the ones that
I
are
have
popular
question.
and you'll likely be fine. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank God I've been in this cyber stuff now for 1.5 years now, and I really thank God. But
okay,
one thing I have learned from Mr. Tom really helped me. But
okay.
I've tried to recover an account whereby a hacker changed my email, changed my phone number, so he added his own. So I was taught that they can send me a unique link to my primary email so I can be able to use it to retrieve my account. But Facebook has always give the option of sending cut to me through phone number, which is only the hacker that added the phone number. I also tried the method of uploading my ID so that they can be able to review my ID and then give me back my account, but no, they didn't accept it. So I
Okay.
don't know if there is another way you can help me, like getting the account back. The hacker has added his own phone number there, and the only option there is phone number, no email option to get a code. Though
Okay.
he has changed my.
I understand. I understand the issue you have.
Okay, sir.
It's a bit difficult at this stage to do the recovery because those personal information have been changed. But what you can do is you can send an email. There is always ways for you to send an email to the Facebook customer support that this is the issue you have, and because everything that happened on your account, they have a record of it. So what you can do is go on Google and search for Facebook customer support. You can send an email directly to them to complain about the issue you have with your account. And I don't know how long this has happened, but if it's something that happened recently, it's still possible for them to fix it. But the longer it stays, the harder it is for you to recover. So it doesn't work every time. It does work, but not every time. So the downside is if you have changed those information, it's a bit tricky for you to get it because there's really nothing anybody can do at that point. It's just the platform that can do anything for you. There's really nothing you can do. So basically try to, if definitely you can't recover the email and the account, try to send a message to Facebook support and complain about the issue. They will always reply you and probably tell you what and what's likely you can do to see if you can recover it. But if they can't help you, then I'm sorry, there's little any other person can do about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Doing. Please, our speaker panelists, we have 1 minute to just close, give a closing remarks. Like, what do we take away as participants from you? We'll start from Winda Mola.
Okay, thank you so much to all the other panelists. I've really learned a lot. I would just say as a takeaway, don't be in a hurry to do anything online. I know we can, because it's like an extension of how we live our lives these days, we can be very overwhelmed and we might just be taken away or panicky in some instances. Like the last speaker said, sometimes you just need to calm down and, ask yourself very valid questions and make sure you are getting your facts straight and make sure that whatever links you're clicking are familiar links, and if they're not familiar, verify before you click or before you give any kind of information. I think another thing I would like to touch on when it comes to internet safety or online safety is also your own personal well-being. As a person, if social media triggers you in certain ways, please regulate your time on social media. Report bullies, or people that intimidate you online or use abusive words, and make sure you're also not that kind of person. Just generally, let's try to contribute to making the internet safer for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aisha. Aisha is not on seat. Doing, can we have you?
Okay, I think for my end, what I would say is, I think I'll probably talk about one of the bigger issues we have since the pandemic started up until now, which is the issue of fake viral news. I know it's been a problem. It looks small, but it's actually a big problem. I want us to always verify information before we forward it to other people. Before we share any information or any news or whatever, like we say, news go viral on Twitter, it goes viral on Instagram, it goes viral on WhatsApp a lot. We get all this information a lot especially on WhatsApp. And for some of us that have parents that are on WhatsApp, you know what I'm talking about. You get all manner of information from them. Okay, so don't let's be one of those that are quick to share fake news, because it's not just fake news, it also compromises people's safety. Okay, so while we tell ourselves to protect ourselves online and avoid hacking and all that, let's also be mindful of the information we share online. Verify information before you forward or before you share. And if it's not very important, don't share it. Okay, verify information before you share, because that information you're sharing, it could make people come up with options for themselves that would end up endangering them or putting them in danger or putting their health at risk and all that. So let's be careful when it comes to sharing information and also fake news. All right. So I think that was just what I would
Thank
put as a
you.
closing remark.
Thank you, Doing. Aisha, are you there? Aisha is not on seat.
Yes.
Okay, Aisha,
Yes,
please, can
yes,
you give
Felix,
us
I'm here.
can you give us one key takeaway from your presentation? 30
Okay,
seconds.
let's just make sure. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone for staying up to this time. The network has been so bad, but I just try to stay in touch. I just want us to always remember that our kids are very important. We should make sure they are safe. Whatever they do online must be monitored by us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Before the closing remarks, I have a poll I want to share with us. Please, it's just a five questions you have to answer. I don't know. Can you see the poll? Can you see?
Okay.
Yes, we can
Yes.
see it.
So please, kindly answer the question.
I don't see where to type my answer. Seriously.
Just click the items 1, 2, 3. Click 1. So are we done? Hello?
Okay, I think we have 6 out of...
Just 6 out of 20 are attending to this.
Seriously.
I think we should just probably wait for
I'm
some
done.
I click one, but it's not giving me the option to write. It's just giving me blue, the highlight. That's all.
The questions are straightforward and the
Very
options are
straightforward.
there. Just click on the answer.
That's
Once
all.
you click on the answer, you've made your choice. Yes.
It's 3 minutes, so you just have to end it. So first question says, what makes a good internet? A good password, sorry. Virtually everybody got it. Then how can you decide if a website is reliable? Yes, everybody. Then what is cyberbullying? I think 10%, one person says downloading cyberbullying programs and giving the internet. No, that's wrong. The answer is someone uses the internet and other means to harass someone. What is netiquette? 2%. 2 people says it's a web application that anyone can download to protect from cyberbullying. No. it is a way you should act when responding to posts online and then when communicating to others. Yes, that's correct. You just have to like think before you share. Then is there such thing as private on the internet? Yes. Somebody says yes. Just have to adjust the privacy settings. Yes, you just have to be careful not to send your information to the wrong friends. And no, because once you post it online, anyone can repost and use. No, it's yes, you just have to adjust privacy settings. And recently there's something that there's a controversy between Facebook and Apple. I don't know if anyone saw the article. A controversy between about the activities you do online. That Facebook sees everything online.
There've been a lot of controversies around
exactly
privacy with Facebook particularly, especially also with Instagram. I mean, with WhatsApp and the recent WhatsApp updates and all that. So there's been that settings, and I think that's one of the issues that it's a global thing that needs to be addressed. So hopefully in the coming months or years, we would have a better framework.
Yeah. So I think going forward, that's one of those issues we face. So that means we think we are private online. We are not private. You know, sometimes it's out of ignorance because we don't know. You know, most times when you go on social media, when you want to sign up on social media, the social media account will ask you, do you allow access to your phone for them to access your media or blah, blah. And you don't know, you just say yes. Before you know, they start tracking everything we do. So that's one of the things that we should, going forward, we should talk about. I think somebody is saying something about GBV. Okay, Winda Mola is answering the person. So sincerely, I want to appreciate everyone. Thank you to our moderator, Chris Ibe, my good friend. Ambassador Chris Ibe, sorry for that. Sincerely also to Anna Collard, a friend from South Africa. I think she has left. So our panelists, Oyinda Mola, I sincerely want to appreciate you. Aisha, thank you so much for your time. Adedoyin also, I appreciate you all. And also to our participant, please kindly drop your email. Kindly drop your email so I can forward you the presentation from Anna and Adedoyin. Please kindly drop your email address so we can forward you the chat box, on the chat box, please. On the chat box so we can forward you the presentation. Thank you once again, everyone. And going forward, we hope to make our internet a better place for everyone. Together we will be for a better internet. Thank you.
Yet, who is gay in there?
It's Aisha and her son. So thank you, everyone. God bless. Stay safe.
Please, last time I attended this meeting, I dropped my email, but they didn't drop me anything. Please, I would love to.
I sent every presentation. I sent every presentation to that email. Sincerely, I did send presentation. Even those who did not attend the event that registered, I sent to their email. I know, yes, I said, except the one for Guy. Guy never sent me his presentation because he said it's kind of private, so he didn't send me his presentation. For others, I sent.
Okay, I'll be able to see from this one.
Yes, definitely.
All right, thank you. I'm the youngest person to be among you here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. All right, have a good day, everyone, and please stay safe.